Hi guys, welcome back to my kitchen, and today I'm showing you how to make a recipe from my book, Delicious Gluten Free Meals. I wanted to show you how easy some of these recipes are to make, so today we're turning to page 37 and we're going to make my gluten free tortilla wraps. Let's go! So the first thing I'm going to do is add my psyllium husk to my bowl of warm water. Now what this does is it creates this kind of gloopy gel which looks a bit odd, but honestly this is what holds the tortilla wraps together and gives them an amazing texture. So trust me on this, if you've never used it before, it's gonna rock your world. Next up, I've got a bowl of plain gluten-free flour, and I'm gonna add some baking powder and some salt to that. Give it a good stir. Lovely. Now, after a minute, you can see that this has kind of formed this like gel. Let me show you. And now I'm simply going to add this gloopy gel into my dry ingredients. I'm also going to add some vegetable oil just to kind of help bind the whole thing together. So we'll start off with a wooden spoon to just bring this together, and it will start to kind of come together in a dough, and that's when we're going to get our hands involved. So you can see it's quite quickly coming together, so I'm going to get in there with my hands. So it might look like you've got a lot of loose flour at first, but don't worry, trust the process, keep squishing it and it will start to come together. You can see it's already getting there. And because there's no gluten, you can't overwork the dough, so don't worry about over kneading it. Just keep going until you've got a nice smooth dough. And there we go, a bit of kneading later, and I've got my nice ball of dough. So this mixture makes 8 tortilla wraps, and I'm using a set of scales so I can weigh them into balls of around 75 grams, and then I'm going to pop them in a damp tea towel to keep them nice and damp so they don't dry out while we fry them off. Got my damp tea towel, so I'll lay that out on the side. So you want balls of dough around 75 grams. So they're sort of the size of like a small satsuma. And I'm just going to roll them into a nice ball. And then I'm going to pop that on my damp tea towel and keep going. So I'm keeping them nice and snug in their little bed. And we'll just wrap them up so they stay nice and damp. Try and work as quickly as you can. So I've got my pan on heating, ready to go. You just want a dry pan, and I'm going to roll out my first tortilla wrap. I would recommend rolling between either 2 sheets of cling film or 2 sheets of baking paper. So pop your ball down on a piece of baking paper, put another sheet on top and then roll. And here's a tip, if your mixture does start to get a little bit dry, just wet your hands and then roll it all together and it'll be nice and sticky again. So my ball has gone down, I'm just going to press it out a bit and then pop a bit of cling film or baking paper on top. Now always make sure to keep turning it regularly so that you get a nice round shape. And we want them to be about 1 millimetre thick, so we're going for really, really thin wraps. So first we'll peel off the first bit of baking paper, and you'll see that we've got our wrap on our sheet. It's lovely and thin, and we're going to flip that into the pan so the wrap goes straight down onto the surface. 45 seconds on each side and then your wrap's done. And then I would recommend wrap the wraps in a tea towel to keep them warm whilst you go through all the other ones one by one. Once you get the hang of it, trust me, you'll whiz through them. Of course, I should say that these are flexible enough that you can just pick them up and pop them in as well. I just like to use the baking paper for extra reassurance that I won't break it. Okay, so these tortilla wraps are now done. Let me show you what they look like. Now, I like to keep them in their little towel because the steam just helps to keep them warm, but you can see they are so soft and flexible. Look at that! You can roll them, you can scrunch them right up into a ball. and they're absolutely fine. They are just so good. And as you can see, I've got a whole stack of them here. So if you're not going to eat all of these, there's a few things you can do. You can let them cool and pop them in an airtight container and then microwave them for 10 seconds before you want to eat them, just so they get that flexibility back. Or you can freeze them between sheets of greaseproof paper and then stack them in the freezer, and then you can take one out one at a time and defrost it when you want to eat them. So that's it guys, how to make my gluten-free tortilla wraps. They're on page 37 of Delicious Gluten Free Meals. Such a simple recipe, perfect for lunches, for Mexican night, for anything you fancy. Let me know if you give this recipe a try. I will pop the details about the book and everything you need to make these in the description below, and keep watching for more easy recipe tutorials from my book Delicious Gluten Free Meals. Thanks for watching, hit subscribe if you like this, and I'll catch you again soon. Bye!